Dramatic revelations tonight surrounding the Yonge Street van attack. What the man suspected of driving the rental van that killed 10 people and injured 16 others in April last year told police. Today in a Toronto courthouse, the judge in the Alec Minassian trial released a decision on the publication ban. Several pieces of evidence, including a police interview with Minassian, the one he did the night he was arrested, will remain secret until next month. But tonight, we can share parts of the evidence she did reveal as she made her justification to ultimately lift the ban. Chris Glover was in court for that today. And Chris, some important updates to talk about. Let's start with the confession.
In her written decision, the judge said that Minassian confessed to being the driver of the van, but she wrote the controversial issue at trial will actually be his state of mind at the time. We also learned today that police in London, Ontario, arrested a man days after Minassian's arrest. The judge says he was possibly inspired by the Toronto van attack. After the deadly van attack along Yonge Street last spring, the world saw almost instantly the arrest of Alec Minassian. What we didn't know was that night he admitted to police he did it. It's part of a lengthy police interview that is currently under a publication ban. Today, Justice Malloy ruled to keep the ban, but only until next month. She wrote Mr. Minassian did confess to being the driver of the van, but this will not be a controversial issue at trial. It'll be about, she says, whether he had the requisite state of mind for the 10 counts of murder and 16 counts of attempted murder he's standing trial for. The defense lawyer was calling for the ban on Minassian's police statement until after the trial. Several people who knew Minassian personally, including at least one of his family members, are expected to testify about him. But the judge disagreed Minassian's statement would taint their testimony. She wrote, "I do not see anything so shocking or surprising that it would alter somebody's memory of their past experience with Mr. Minassian." Just before the attack, Minassian posted on Facebook, "The incel rebellion has begun."
Tomorrow is the day of retribution.
A direct reference to this man, Elliot Rodger, who killed 6 students in California in 2014, widely regarded as the head of the incel movement, or involuntary celibates, angry male virgins attacking women for refusing to sleep with them. Tonight, we can also tell you this man, Alex Pencala from London, Ontario, faces charges. In a video, Pencala allegedly uttered threats to cause death or bodily harm to unknown people. Pencala was charged 10 days after the massacre on Yonge Street. The allegations against him have not been proven in court. In the Minassian pub ban decision today, the Toronto judge connected Pencala to Minassian. She said Pencala was possibly inspired by the Toronto van attack. But even piecing together an alleged motive for Minassian has proved challenging. The judge says 3 encrypted electronic devices seized were unable to be cracked. Police have tried since his arrest, even hiring experts to help. And the Crown has concerns with giving Minassian access to his devices for his help to find out what's on them. The judge says the publication ban will be lifted on September 27th. As part of her ruling today, she said she's not aware of any case in which a full order like this has been applied to a trial that is being heard without a jury, so just in front of a judge like Minassian's will be. She also expressed concern about secrecy when courts are supposed to be open to the public.
So, Chris, if the judge thinks the publication ban should be lifted, why is she waiting until September 27th to let us report the contents of the evidence?
This is essentially a compromise. It allows for the defense and the Crown to appeal the decision should they wish to. It also will give the defense time to interview witnesses ahead of the release of all of this information. That would help avoid the problem of tainting their testimony. And Dwight, despite the fact that we have all of this information tonight, it might be hard to believe that the trial itself has not started. This is all pre-trial information. The trial itself will begin next February.
Chris, thank you. The Parole Board of Canada has granted day parole privileges to James Fursillo, the Toronto police officer convicted in the shooting death of Sammy Yatim. Fursillo was sentenced to 6 years in prison for attempted murder after he fatally shot 18-year-old Yatim on a streetcar in 2013. Fursillo has served 21 months so far. In its decision, the Parole Board said Fursillo's time in prison has been productive, adding he's admitted fault and expressed remorse over Yatim's death. Porcillo will be moved to a halfway house outside the city for 6 months. He's been ordered not to contact any members of Yatim's family during that time. And we're following a developing story in the city's West End. A man is dead after a shooting in the Roncesvalles neighborhood. Angelina King joins us live now on Roncesvalles, just south of Dundas. So what do we know so far, Angelina?
Well, right now we know that at least 2 shots were fired here in broad daylight just at around 4:30 this afternoon. Police have confirmed that a man has died on scene here, and we know that EMS did not transport that man to hospital. Now, there's still a lot of police on scene here. They're still looking for evidence. I can tell you that we do know now that 1 gun has been recovered here. Police have it under one of these yellow pails that you can see on the sidewalk, and a police officer had just lifted up the pail. You could clearly see the gun as police were examining it. Now, they're also here still looking for evidence on the sidewalk. A lot of the debris, including some first aid materials, are seen just on the sidewalk outside of a business, as well as on the stairs leading up to that business. Now, police are also interviewing witnesses here. There are a lot of people here outside of the police tape. I'd say a couple dozen are still here. It's a Friday evening here in a rather busy area, and there's quite a few homes in the area as well. So a lot of people aren't able to make it into their homes right now. Now, I spoke with a witness who just moved to the area recently from Mississauga. He said he lived here about 20 years ago, loves the area, wanted to come back, and says that this shooting has really shook him, and he's quite scared and lucky. He says that he doesn't have the young family here. I also talked to another witness who described what he heard and saw. Take a listen.
It was 4 shots, and that was it, and some screaming. But that's basically what happened. Yeah, they drove away. I don't know which direction they drove off, but it was like a white SUV.
And it's that white SUV police have confirmed that they are looking for. They have no description of a suspect or suspects at this point. Now, we do also, I can tell you right now, that Roncesvalles is closed between Grenadier and Constance Street, so some people aren't able to make it into their homes at this point. Now, this, according to the latest numbers from Toronto Police, this is the 268th shooting this year and the 21st person to die of gun violence. Dwight?
Thank you, Angelina. New video has surfaced of the house explosion in London that happened earlier this week. The video was captured by a backyard security camera. A couple and their friend were enjoying a soak in the hot tub when an alleged drunk driver crashed into a home and set off a devastating explosion. No one died, but several people were injured, and more than 100 families were displaced temporarily. Yesterday, most of the residents were allowed to return home. A 23-year-old Kitchener woman is scheduled to appear in court on September 4th. After a report found bullying was systemic at St. Michael's College, people are looking at what needs to change at the all-boys private Catholic school. 6 students are still facing charges connected to an alleged assault involving one of the school's football teams. Lorena Redekop now with more reaction to the report.
He loves St. Mike's, but there have been also issues and difficulties. He has experienced some bullying and aggressiveness.
Her son left the St. Mike's lacrosse team over bullying, but the new independent report has blown open those types of problems. An important step, say some.
So it actually brought up issues from underneath the ground that were starting to influence the boys, and you can't change something you don't know about.
The report includes a survey. 1 in 5 students reported being bullied, higher for alumni at 2 in 5. Of the students who said they were bullied, 1 in 4 said it was sexual bullying, 1 in 5 for alumni. The report says bullying numbers are similar for boys across the country. Among the recommendations, a comprehensive strategy on bullying and one on mobile technology and social media. The alleged assault was recorded and distributed on social media. The school wouldn't do an interview, but released a video response.
The school remains fully committed to adopting all of the recommendations.
One former student says that's an improvement from the school's initial response.
They had an assembly and they basically lectured all the students and saying, don't let it happen again. And the report says that doesn't work. You can't, that's just telling kids not to bully is not going to work. You have to address the root causes. You have to talk to the kids. You have to get the kids involved in it. You have to get the kids involved in stopping it.
This academic worries about private schools.
They may change at that school, but that doesn't mean any other school will change.
Private schools don't face provincial regulations like public schools, with no required policy on bullying. Teachers also don't have to be certified.
The person that cuts their hair is regulated. There's more protection for a child having their hair cut than there is going to a private school.
With the report now public, other schools could choose to implement similar recommendations. St. Mike says the independent committee will be back to assess the school's progress in 18 to 24 months. Lorenda Redicomp, CBC News, Toronto.
3 people are dead after a double murder-suicide in Brampton this morning. It happened just before 6 a.m. near Williams Parkway and Jordan Boulevard. Police found 2 bodies at that scene, and a third was found on Highway 410 a short time later. Greg Ross is live at the first scene with the latest for us. And Greg, you just got an update from officers?
About this tragic domestic situation that happened on this quiet street here in Brampton. It happened very early this morning in a home that police tell us they had never been called to before. Now they say they're investigating a double murder-suicide. A 53-year-old mother of 4 and her 13-year-old son are dead, stabbed in their home on this Brampton street early this morning.
We are dealing with a very tragic incident, the circumstances surrounding it. There are obviously members that are still having to deal with all this, which is why we have not and are not releasing the names of the individuals involved. It is at the request because of the trauma that is going on around this situation. It is a lot, and we are really looking to respect their wishes so that they can process and deal with the aftermath of this. Remember that we have people that have just lost 2 parents and a young sibling.
Police say it was the woman's 51-year-old husband and the boy's father who killed them in an apparent domestic dispute. Investigators say he then fled the home and killed himself in the area of Williams Parkway and Highway 410.
Simply that he left his vehicle, went over onto the Williams Parkway, and ended up on the 410.
This man was just heading for an early morning bike ride when emergency vehicles started to arrive on the scene just before 6 o'clock this morning.
There was no tape or anything. They didn't have the street closed, but the fire department told me to leave really quick because they knew what had happened. They had told me somebody had been killed.
This teen says she came a little while later. She was there to pick up tickets to Canada's Wonderland from one of the teenage daughters who live in the home.
I texted her this morning because she said I could go wake her up to go to her house and grab the tickets, but then she hasn't responded yet.
Many other neighbors, some who knew the family, woke up to the news this morning.
I can't say I know them very well, yeah, we see them, we say hi, we wave, we chit chat.
Police say that there were 6 people who lived in that home, including 2 more adult children and 1 other child. At this point, they say they're going to continue with the investigation, but they are not looking for any other suspects at this point, Dwight.
Tragedy out there tonight. Thank you, Greg. And we are staying in Brampton. A 28-year-old man is now facing murder charges in relation to 3 fatal shootings last year. Patrick Doyle appeared in a Brampton courthouse this morning. He's accused of carrying out a shooting at Slumdog Bar and Grill in July 2018. 34-year-old Kareem Watson was killed. Doyle was already facing charges for 2 other fatal shootings last year. Those claims the lives of 27-year-old Clifford Correa and 33-year-old Derek McEwen. Police have issued a Canada-wide warrant for a man alleged to have participated in Watson's murder. They're looking for 28-year-old Yasmin Nahi, considered to be armed and dangerous. If seen, police are asking the public to call 911 immediately.
It makes me really think about who is the true enemy in our society.
They may be young, but they have ideas about how to stay away from violence. I speak to 3 kids from the group 37 Kids in Lawrence Heights. That conversation coming up a little later in the show. For some of us, it signals the end of summer, and for many in the city, it's a yearly tradition. The CNE opened today. As Mayor John Tory said, it's an event that brings people from every walk of life down to the exhibition grounds.
The CNE is a very special thing in Toronto because it is so open to all, and it is so inclusive, and people can come here and enjoy themselves even if they can't talk to each other in the same language. And so I just think it is an important thing. As much as some people, will comment on, what it is and how old it is and all this, I think it's timeless.
The opening ceremony took place this morning with a ribbon cutting in front of Prince's Gates. There was also a police procession and confetti, as you saw there, and of course, you have to have a marching band. This is the 141st year of the Canadian National Exhibition. Daniel Clark joins us live from the ground. So, what's happening down there, Daniel?
Dwight, it's been a wonderful afternoon, and it is turning it into a beautiful, beautiful evening here. I'm a little lightheaded. I was on the Polar Express earlier, not like it was when I was a kid. It's one of the oldest rides here. It's been around since 1980. As is the case, whenever we set up one of these cameras, people are gathering around. So let's talk to some of these people. Your name? What's your name?
Caitlin.
What are you doing here? What do you like coming to the X4 every year?
Everything. The food, all of the attractions, the super dogs, the parkour, all of it.
I'm going to say I'm pretty hungry myself. I'm getting whiffs of like popcorn, cotton candy, that kind of fun stuff.
Yeah.
What's your favorite dish here?
Tiny Toms.
Tiny Toms? What, the donuts?
Yes. You can get them anywhere, but...
Oh, you can?
Yeah.
All right. Well, maybe I'll try those.
Yeah, when they're here, they're better.
You, why don't you come over here? Come talk to us. What's your name?
Sachin.
Oh, yeah? What's your favorite part about coming to the X?
Probably the arts building.
Arts building?
Yeah.
What's going on in there?
Nothing. I just like seeing the unique designs.
Do you like drawing? Are you an artist?
No, but I play an instrument.
Oh, what do you play?
Guitar.
Cool. That's awesome. All right, well, why don't you guys all come in? Come on in. Come wave to the camera. Oh, that guy was a little fast. Anyways, it's been really, really great. Some people behind us playing roulette. I've never had much fun with these games, so, I'm going to stay and not do any of that tonight. But it's a fun time. If you want to come down here tonight, I recommend it to anybody who's watching.
Just save me some Tiny Tim donuts there, Daniel. Thank you, buddy.
No promises, Dwight.
What can you promise us weather-wise for the X this weekend, Mr. Harrington?
Yeah, so Daniel was talking about some of the rides. I think about the CNE, I think about the food. I mean, we were talking about that too, the tiny donuts, you want to call them that. So we got the food in the background. Tonight's probably the better night, Dwight, because we've got some thunderstorms in the forecast for Saturday. Sunday's looking a little better, so I didn't want to keep you hanging, give you that right off the bat, and the humidity will build as well. Not the case right now. It's comfortable, 24, but we're really going to dial that up over the next few days. Toward the QEW corridor, Hamilton towards St. Catharines, we had some real potent cells roll across this afternoon. A cluster of thunderstorms. Think about it like a sponge, wringing out all of its moisture. By some accounts, Hamilton, 50 millimeters of rain. And just a week ago, St. Catharines was dealing with that. We did see it transfer over to Lake Ontario, and just a bit of rain downtown Toronto for a bit. And that's the bulk of it. Waking up Saturday morning, it's an overcast start to the day, and by about 1, 2, 3 o'clock, we'll get into an organized band of precipitation along the lakeshore and north into Markham. It shoves out in about 24 hours from now. So a warm overnight, 20, and there's those thunderstorms for tomorrow. Dwight, I should also point out, breezy conditions. We'll talk more about that humidity coming up.
Thank you, Jeff.
See you soon.
Toronto Police have a new 11-week initiative trying to reduce gun violence, and to kick the program off, Chief Saunders attended a community meeting in Lawrence Heights, one of the areas getting special attention.
It's a step in the right direction, working together. As we have officers in the communities here on a regular basis, have those conversations, express those concerns.
We need healing. Our community needs healing, and the only way we can heal is by with each other. Funding in police isn't going to do much. The streets are smarter than that.
You cannot talk about banning guns if you're not going to talk about banning poverty and all the issues that go along with it. It's like a puzzle with 10, 20 pieces. The gun piece is one puzzle, one piece of the puzzle.
And tonight, it's the children's turn to speak up. A group called 37 Kids is hosting a community safety workshop to talk about how to help reduce violence and crime in Lawrence Heights. The group is made up of youth from the community. They hold workshops on different careers, trying to help the kids figure out what they want to do with their futures. I sat down with 3 of them ahead of the event tonight to talk about what it's like to live in that community and with all the violence around them.
My mom says I always have to be safe around the neighborhood where I go to and where I walk and everything.
Yeah.
But like majority of times, like I'm like not really like encountering any problems towards anyone.
Are you guys making choices, I guess, to stay away from that life is really what I'm asking you.
Like we are making choices in our lives to like not get involved with this stuff, but there's a lot of people that were like just generally don't care for some reason.
Yeah.
And like they always like put like innocent people in harm's way when doing things.
What's that like as a young person having to deal with that? Because not everybody growing up in the city has to deal with that.
I know. Growing up like that like makes me really think a lot.
Yeah.
Because like it makes me really think about who is like the true enemy in our society. Like who are we? Like what are we doing in life?
You sound like a young philosopher there. You really do. You don't have any choice. You're living here, you're growing here. Like, how do you survive? How do you get through your day-to-day life here and succeed? Because it seems like you're succeeding in spite of what's going on around you.
The reason why I haven't like got into anything like serious, I've been like around all the violence and stuff, but like I haven't actually like gotten into or been like a part of it, is because I don't engage in the community as much as I used to when I was younger. And that's because when I was younger, I went through a lot of things that got me in a lot of trouble, and I made a lot of dumb decisions that I wish I could take back. And that
you're making better choices now. Is 37 kids helping you to make better choices,
yes,
you think?
Yes. But I was already making those choices before, but 37 kids has solidified my motivation. It's like made me want to made me want to be successful. And that's because of the certain people who've come to the workshops, the facilitators
to talk to you, yeah. You see, you're getting these role models to come in and support you.
And I think if I didn't take this program, I'd still be lost.
You're new to the country.
Yes.
You're new to the community. Do you think that you'll be able to be successful even though you're growing up here?
Yes, I sure do, because I have the mindset and I believe in myself.
Are you the music man? Like, what's going on?
Okay, yeah, I have to be. Yeah, I'm
What are you going to be doing? Are you performing too?
I'm performing a rap, of course. I give thanks to all this stuff with this community and all these great programs and opportunity. I remember back at home used to be all this foolery. Man's on block always causing first degree. I didn't like it, I couldn't take it, and yeah, that's all I can say.
He doesn't give himself enough credit.
What? I interviewed Common last week, and I think he would have loved those rhymes, man.
Still working through in regards to injuries that she may or may not have obtained during the ordeal.
A random attack overnight in New Zealand has a Canadian connection. We'll bring you that story after the break. Stay with us.
The weather update is brought to you by Train Extreme Conditions Testing. It's hard to stop a train, really hard. Train, the most reliable heating and cooling brand.
Police in New Zealand have arrested a 23-year-old man after an attack on a couple in a camper van overnight. One of the pair is a Canadian woman who survived. Her Australian fiancé did not. Laura McQuillan has more.
Bianca Buckley fled for her life as a gunman approached the camper van she and her fiancé were sleeping in and opened fire. The 32-year-old Canadian woman ran several kilometres to call police. Hours later, her partner's body was discovered in the van, found some 75 kilometres away from the scene of the shooting. Police say Bianca Buckley wasn't hurt in the attack, but she is traumatised.
We are supporting the female victim, who is understandably very shocked and distressed, providing her with the support and welfare that she needs. Still working through in regards to injuries that she may or may not have obtained during the ordeal. The terrain where the vehicle was stolen is quite rough with a lot of bush around.
According to her Facebook page, Buckley was living and working in the Auckland region, north of the popular surfing spot where the attack took place. Her fiancé, 33-year-old Sean McKinnon, was visiting from Australia. His sister spoke to the Sydney Morning Herald newspaper about their family's heartbreak. He was a hard worker, a brilliant musician and an amazing surfer. He was always one to give you a hug and tell you that he loved you. Laura McQuillan, CBC News, Toronto.
Drake jinx exists. The only person that can ruin or take away Drake jinx is Kawhi Leonard.
Coming up,
gone.
After the break, we talk to Mo Ammer about why he's here in Toronto dissing Drake.
Yeah,
we'll be back.
I'm not dissing Drake. I'm not dissing Drake. He's too crewed up. I only diss Drake in New York.
To commercial. Many Toronto taxi drivers say they are being hit with insurance premium hikes. Renewal notices have gone out for almost $12,000 for comprehensive coverage, more than double what was charged last year. The change has some drivers considering parking their cars for good because they can't afford to work anymore. Philip Lishanak explains.
A lot has changed since Thomas Tua began driving taxis in 1973. He says it used to be a good living. Now, licensing fees, permits, and car maintenance all eat away at what he takes home at the end of the day.
Coming down here, I make how much that? Maybe about $80 a day to go home. I have a family, I have a home to pay for.
Now his commercial vehicle insurance coverage has skyrocketed by more than $3,000 a year. That has him thinking of hanging up his license and parking his car for good.
Maybe I'll make more money collecting welfare than even driving a taxi.
He's not the only one. This driver's renewal more than doubled to $12,000, even though he's been driving for 45 years and says he hasn't had any recent claims.
No tickets, no accident.
What bothers him most is his main competition. Private citizens who drive for ride-sharing apps such as Uber and Lyft don't need to buy commercial insurance. They're covered by the company's policies when they pick up fares.
They don't have any insurance, so why should we pay this? I don't mind. They could bring 100,000 more Uber, I don't care. The idea is let them do the same thing we're doing. Go for courses, give us the low insurance and everything, and then we'll be a level playing field.
Getting into the business is expensive for taxi drivers. They have licensing and permit fees. This independent driver owns and maintains his own vehicle. Commercial insurance is another expense that ride-sharing drivers who simply download an app don't need to pay. And there's a reason taxi drivers are paying more. According to those in the insurance industry, they're bearing the brunt of a bad year for accident claims.
Most insurance companies, their results have not been good in Ontario Auto. And when results on Ontario Auto are bad, it's like they sneeze and everybody else gets a cold. So taxis have always been a difficult class of business. They would be considered high risk.
And some are worried about what being charged the highest rate will do to the industry.
The way the insurance is going right now, it's another nail in the coffin for us.
And while it may be easy for some to say, go find another job, the reality is different for drivers like 75-year-old Thomas.
But I'm stuck in it. I have nowhere to go. Who is going to employ me at my age?
Philip Lishanak, CBC News, Toronto.
Remember, if you have a story you would like us to look into, we would love to hear from you. Just send us an email, torontotips@cbc.ca. Comedian Mo Amer is in town tonight. He's headlining the Stand Up for Refugees fundraiser at the Toronto Centre for the Arts. The comedy show will raise awareness and funds for Syrian refugees. Amer has toured with comedy legend Dave Chappelle and is the star of the Netflix comedy special The Vagabond, making him the first Arab American to star in his own nationally televised one-hour stand-up special. I caught up with him ahead of his show in Toronto to talk about his stand-up comedy and what it was like moving from Kuwait to Texas as a refugee kid.
It was a massive culture shock. You know, it was like British English school in Kuwait to, you know, public school in Houston, Texas, to English as a second language class where I already spoke English and I was the only guy that spoke English in that class, to, you know, it's just like there's so many things that you had to get accustomed with. Like I didn't know what was cool, was not cool. Yeah. It was a huge culture shock. And also like Halloween happened 2 days later after I arrived, and I've never heard of such a thing before. And I saw everybody's like naked and people dying. I was like, what is this chaos did we move to? So it was a really, really big shock initially, for sure.
How did you get introduced to the comedy, though?
So it was actually in 1990 when my brother took me to the Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo, and it was 67,000 people live in the Astrodome, and it was co-headlined by the band Alabama and Bill Cosby. I know, and I saw Bill Cosby live on the stage in front of 70,000 people, just destroying with a lapel mic and a chair, and it just blew my mind. I was like, what is this art form? And that's where the infatuation and the obsession, really, the obsession began. And at that moment is when I knew that I was going to be a comedian.
As a refugee, you know, you don't have a passport, and how did you travel around the world to do all these shows in all these different places?
For me, you know, when I got the refugee travel document, I was very ignorant to it. I didn't know how difficult it was going to be to travel with it, even though I had visas issued in the document.
Yeah, this is something like from the Geneva Convention back in the day,
exactly,
right? Yeah.
exactly. It was created for refugees to allow them to travel while they're seeking asylum in those respective countries. And so I thought it was going to be easy, but it was not. It was not. It was roadblocks everywhere. I mean, it was like, you know, I went to Germany and the guy's like, yeah, welcome to Germany, can I have your passport, please? I'm like, yeah, here you go.
It shows here you're born in Kuwait. Yeah, can I please have your Kuwaiti passport? I was like, man, I don't have a Kuwaiti passport. He's like, why don't you have a Kuwaiti passport? I was like, relax, okay? First of all, in Kuwait, it doesn't matter if you're born there. It matters where your parents come from. He goes, yeah, well, where do your parents come from? I was like, well, my parents are Palestinian. He goes, well, give me your Palestinian passport. I was like, bro, I don't have a Palestinian passport. Well, why don't you have a Palestinian passport? I was like, because Palestine is not a state. He goes, well, why don't you make it a state? I was like, what?
When all this craziness is going on with Muslims in America, and you get on a plane, and how do you end up sitting in first class beside young Mr. Trump on this airplane?
That's what happens when you join the Illuminati. You know what I mean? They just like, they
Jay-Z
say,
hooks you up there? Like, how'd you do
Jay-Z
that?
hooked me up. No, I didn't have anything to do with that. I just flew in
sat down.
and I go to scan my boarding pass and I get upgraded. I'm like, okay, and I walk in the plane and I was like, oh my God, this is Eric Trump. My first thing I said to him was Salam Alaikum. It was the first thing I said to him. And he was like,
salam? What did he say?
no, he was just like, what? He was surprised. I was like, man, I had to do it. I'm Arab, I'm Muslim, I'm a comedian. I had to do it, and I'm a refugee in your face.
And you had the citizenship by that time.
I had to see, yeah, because that's why I was so cocky. You know what I'm saying? Like, I couldn't be that cocky without citizenship.
Let's talk about that, the whole, why you're here.
Yeah.
For the refugees and your story and why this is so important.
I think it's really important that people know how difficult it is of a transition for a refugee coming to any country in the world that's different than your own. I think it's really, really important to support those because they do, you know, immigrants and refugees do work harder than everybody else. They want a future just like everybody else. And I think it's really important not only to welcome them, but to support them to acclimate to, you know, the societies that surround them and to help them thrive. Because if they thrive, we thrive.
If y'all haven't seen Vagabond, you gotta check out my favorite part, his gangster mom and the story of how they got out of the Middle East and got to America. That is a great story, man, and shout out to your gangster mom. Thank you,
brother.
sir.
I appreciate
respect,
it.
man.
Yo, Toronto Raptors, I respect.
Okay, so I love Mo. As you can see there, we had a great time in the interview. Jeff, he was sweating during the interview because he refused to take off that Houston Rockets jacket. I said, you're in Toronto, we're NBA champs, show a little respect, buddy. Take off the jacket. But no, he refused. It was a humid one out there today.
Yeah, we got to get him some of that Raptors merch. You're right, Dwight. And the humidity, we're going to dial it up the next few days. Going over our headlines, what's on the menu tonight, unsettled pattern. We'll time out when I think our best shot at rain is. There's a humidity. I think air conditioners will be running in overdrive again, and we've got you covered with your CNE forecast. Daytime highs today, 24 for Toronto. So far, Sarnia 27, so I think we'll save you some Tiny Tom Timbits, donuts for that title. Feeling 31 towards southwestern Ontario. 29 right now is the feels like value in Toronto. And again, we're cranking that up over the next few days. Want to talk dew point tonight. So Hamilton 20, St. Catharines 21. Toronto not so bad at 16, but think the highest number, 21. Look at that. We're now into muggy territory, and we're going to dial into oppressive territory in the days to come. Here's your CNE forecast. Saturday, we've got some thunderstorms in the picture. I would say the better bet is Sunday. Sunday, 29. Lesser chance of rain in the forecast, about a 40% chance, likely overcast. It's also going to be windy tomorrow, too. We're waking up to cloud cover Saturday morning, and then by 1, 2, 3, showers start to dance in, really right around the GTA. And again, we may get some thunderstorms mixed in here. All of that will shove out in about 24 hours from now, so Saturday evening is actually looking pretty good. Sunday starts off the same way, cloudy, and I think for the bulk of the day, it's going to be overcast cloud until we get late on Sunday. We'll start to see more rain into our area. So tonight, temperature is actually down to 20, so starting to get into these muggy nights already. And tomorrow, there we go, there's thunderstorms in the afternoon. Winds will also be breezy, something to keep in mind too if you're on some of those rides at the Midway. Humidex feeling 34, but again, each and every day It is going to build to the point on Monday we're getting pretty close to 40. Saturday, mainly overcast, some peaks of sun, late rain into Monday. There we go. So interesting, temperature stays around 29, but the humidity, the humidex builds each day. So back to work on Monday, Dwight, feeling closer to 40.
Summer's not ready to go yet, and we're okay with it. Thank you, Jeff.
You're welcome.
It was 50 years ago today, 400,000 people descended on an upstate New York dairy farm for Woodstock. It is considered a defining moment in rock and roll history, but that day attendees had no idea what they'd step into. Alicia San takes a trip down memory lane with someone who experienced it herself.
So you've got a little bit of a nickname for this backyard sanctuary you have here in Toronto?
I call it my little Woodstock garden. Yeah. Back to the garden. These are the jeans that I wore. If you can see, they're still, this is Woodstock mud, everybody. You want to touch these?
There's history in this fabric.
Them.
So when you received this in the mail, you must have been so excited.
I was very excited. Flew standby, $16 from Toronto to New York City. I can see it like it was 5 minutes ago. Was a gorgeous field with no people in it. An empty field, and at the very bottom was an amphitheater, like a natural amphitheater with a stage. We found a place to sleep really quickly, and in the morning it started to drizzle just a little bit. Nobody thought about food. Flora, my friend, bought some bread and cheese, and that was gone in the first day. Later on, towards the evening, when it was starting to get dark, was Melanie. So Melanie does her famous Candle in the Rain. Then somebody said, why doesn't everybody just light a match? This is what gives me goosebumps. Light a match, and the whole field lit up in little flickers of light. Melanie said, oh, this was like little fireflies dancing in the sky.
Man, there's supposed to be 1.5 million people here by tonight. Can you dig that?
The conditions are bad, bad, bad. First of all, the muck is atrocious. Since it rained, like all the muck is amazing. The lingo is so cute. I love it. I don't think Woodstock could happen again because it happened. Mm-hmm. There could be something else. There could be some political thing that happens.
Could you sense the politics in the air?
Oh, yes.
Well, come on, all of you big strong men. Uncle Sam needs your help again. Got himself in a terrible jam way down yonder in Vietnam.
What was that like to be a Canadian there witnessing that political?
Well, we all felt the same way. I mean, we didn't know much about the war in Vietnam, but we sure went to rallies in Toronto that had "Stop the Vietnam War" signs.
The next stop is Vietnam.
When you're out and like you hear a song from that era, what does it do to you?
Oh my God, I feel fantastic.
A little Janis Joplin, a little Jimi Hendrix. Didn't get to go to Woodstock? We've got you covered. Head to CBC Music for a playlist of the famous music festival. That's at cbc.ca/music.
Honorary Mayor, thank you.
It has a unique name, and now this little town in Newfoundland has gained international recognition. We'll tell you how after the break. Stay with us. This town in Canada is known for its unique name, and now Dildo, Newfoundland has gained international recognition. Late-night TV comic Jimmy Kimmel learned about the name, became fascinated with the town, and is now its first honorary mayor. Peter Cowan has more from Dildo.
The town of Dildo has become a regular fixture on Jimmy Kimmel's show over the last week and a half or so, and if you think people are tired of all the dildo jokes, well, they're not. They're just happy to get all the attention, a little spotlight on this little community. And in fact, over the last week, people have been wondering, would Jimmy Kimmel actually come as part of his campaign to become mayor here? He sent his sidekick Guillermo, who'd been broadcasting every day from the community, but even up until last night, people were hoping that he might be here.
If he doesn't, it would be wonderful, of course, if he did. That'd be just a coup for them, but you know, just the fact the signs are up and people are just having a bit of fun with it.
I heard that he was spotted at the airport. I heard that the RCMP presence means that he's close. I've heard that he's been floating around out there on a boat. So I don't know. I mean, will he show up? Maybe.
Kimmel hasn't shown up, but he's promised to come for a visit, and in fact, he'll have to if he wants to take that title of honorary mayor. But people here in the community are hoping that these spots will encourage others to come visit the community as well. Tourism has become hugely important to this community, and lots of local entrepreneurs have been cashing in on this attention. For example, the local Dildo Brewery has brewed this Jimmy Kim Ale, especially for the occasion. As well, one woman has started taking some of the dildo jokes and putting them on t-shirts, and they've become very popular.
The merchandising aspect of it has taken off tremendously. There's been so much publicity because of Jimmy Kimmel, and I thought, why not go for it? Business has been booming. Like I said, we just opened today. I don't even have like a whole lot of inventory, and people are just coming and asking for different things.
The show did have a parting gift for the community of Dildo. It erected this giant dildo sign on the hill, kind of like the Hollywood sign. Just one of the signs that this show has left its mark here on the community. Peter Cowan, CBC News, Dildo.
Hey, we are here at the dog show at the CNE. They're calling it Super Dogs. Apparently it's a magic show too. They're calling it Abracadabar. Not an empty seat in this house, so this is the show to see. Apparently, this is going to be going on 3 times a week during the week and 4 times on the weekends. Just from what I've seen so far, these dogs are super impressive. I probably couldn't do half of the stuff they're doing. Just love it. Apparently, these guys are loving it too. Let's see if we can have a look at what some of these dogs are doing.
I love the rides, I love the energy, I love the vibes, I love the music in the background that just plays all the time. I really like the food. It's usually the same every year, but they always have different changes, which I really, really like because you always come back to see new things, which is always the thrilling part about it.
Did she just say, I love the vibes? You're looking at the new pickle lemonade on offering at the X. There's also cotton candy tacos and rainbow grilled cheese. I might actually try that one. You can always rely on the fantastic food offerings at the CNE. It is now officially open and will be until September 2nd. Daniel Clark joins us again from the X. There are plenty of hot dogs at the CNE, but also, as we can see there, I love the show, the Super Dogs, Daniel.
That's right, we're here right now watching some of these amazing animals do a ton of tricks. Apparently they're calling it abracadab bark. So I guess these are magical dogs. I'm just trying to see what exactly they're setting up right now. I gotta tell you, it's a packed audience. There is not an empty seat here, so this has gotta be an exciting show. It's my first time, so let's see what these guys have.
That's lovely. Let's hear it from Gypsy, beautiful.
Well, I guess that was pretty cool. Well, we're gonna have to check it out.
This is Dewey, by the way.
Probably another time, but like I said, 3 times during the weekdays and 4 times during the weekends. You can check out the show.
It's a fun place to play for Super Dog.
All right, thank you, Daniel. York University installed a new $1 million reflecting telescope on campus today, taking one small step for students and one giant crane to make it happen.
There's a lot of moving parts and there's a lot of people on the ground, so we just take our time lifting all the equipment and setting it in slowly and assembling the bits.
The crane hoisted the telescope up piece by piece into the school's observatory today, where workers waited to carefully begin assembly. The whole process took more than 2 hours. The 1-meter telescope is believed to be the largest situated on a university campus in Canada.
It's a huge upgrade. Our biggest telescope on campus at the moment is only 60 centimeters. So this is 3 times the light gathering capability, but more to the point, it's state of the art. So it means that our students will have more opportunity to look at interesting objects. So that's for our undergraduate students to train. We'll be able to do better research with our graduate students. And of course, the public wins because they'll be able to look through this telescope too.
The telescope is expected to give a deeper view into space, showing distant galaxies, cosmic objects, and clear views of the planets. The completed telescope is expected to be unveiled in October. And I love Professor Delaney. He's quite the character up there, and I can't wait to go up there with him and check that out up at York University. Yeah. This weekend, we got about 30 seconds left to tell people I'm playing beach volleyball for charity on the weekend in the beaches, and I'm going to need Saturday at 1. I'm going to need an umbrella. Okay.
You will, but you already know, Dwight.
Yes.
That's awesome. Okay, tonight it's going to be a mild 120. Look at that. There's those thunderstorms, and they'll really dance in toward the afternoon. I feel like I'm taking a lot of heat for this because the CNE's going on, right? Not only the thunderstorms, but gusty winds tomorrow as well, and we crank up that humidity.
Oh man, it is humid out there. That is our show for tonight. Thank you for watching. For news anytime, head to our website. We'll see you back here on Monday. Have a great weekend, everybody.